All right, class, let's get this thing going. So, Dollar bump key. A little bit about me. Chris Sistrunk. I'm a professional engineer, electrical engineer. Used to work for a company called Entergy. SCADA engineer for almost 10 years there. Now work for Mandiant. If you Google my name, you'll probably see a lot about control systems and industrial security. That's not what I'm going to talk about today. So, talking about physical security, when I was at the power company, I was working at, we had an event where someone broke in some stuff and set stuff on fire, and it wasn't cool. So we had to revisit our physical security, and I was on the substation security team. And it's fun to learn about, lock picking and chains and gates and things like that. And if you follow me on Twitter, or you can send me an email. So let me give the disclaimer. I have to read it like Ben Stein. The information in this presentation is intended for educational purposes. I'm a security professional, not a security, advisor or legal expert. Just be legal, be safe. Because actually, there's some laws in in some states that actually pertain to bump keys in the law. So just be aware of that. Okay, so what if you have $2? That's a Dave dollar bill there. Plus a bump key, plus a Key Kiosk equals, no questions, $2 bump key O-matic. How many people in here has played with bump keys before? Okay, most of you. How many people have seen a Key Kiosk before? All right, cool. So, this is what they look like. This is the three that I found. We're going to talk about these in a little bit in depth. So, the one on the left is called Minute Key. The one in the middle is Fast Key, and the one on the right is Key Kiosks. So, a little bit about Minute Key. This is a map of the Minute Key locations in and around Louisville. This machine only accepts credit cards and debit cards. So, if you have cash, you can't make an anonymous, transaction. But the cool thing about this Key Kiosk is it has a window. You can see how it copies the keys. You can watch everything. I didn't actually get to see one of these in person. We didn't have one in my, where I was. So you stick the key in the little key shaft, and it measures it and then makes a key, a duplication of that. And it requires you to put in your email. Well, it doesn't require you to, but it asks if you want to put in your email address to get a receipt. So think about that. It's collecting some data. You don't know if they're saving it for other purposes or not. The next one is Fast Key. And this is also a view of the fast keys in and around the Louisville area. It does accept cash and also accepts credit and debit cards. It has a little flatbed scanner, and it scans the entire key with the head and everything. And it'll print out a receipt, so it doesn't require you to put in your email address. And they're in big box stores, so this one's in, these are in Walmart. The one before that was in Lowe's. So, there might be in Home Depot as well, other big box stores. And the last one is called KeyMe. They actually have an iPhone app. I don't have an iPhone, but if you do, you can go look this up in the App Store. And it'll allow you to take a picture of your key. It will store the key in the cloud, and it will display, if you can kind of see this, it will display the key type and the bidding code. You can also make when you want to get a copy of your key from the cloud, they'll mail it to you if you want. Or you can go to the Key Kiosk. There's only 5 of those in Manhattan area, and it requires a fingerprint if you want to get one of your keys out of the cloud. So that's collecting more data on you. And if you bring a key to the kiosk, it will duplicate that as well. It also has a DerbyCon approved key. It opens beer bottles. That's actually a pretty cool key. So here's some prior art. There's been a couple of articles about it. A big one that was earlier this year in Wired. I won't read the whole thing, but the highlighted part says, KeyMe was designed to let anyone photograph their keys and upload them to the company's servers. So think about that. That's convenient, but could be a security risk or issue. So let's talk about some of the key types that kiosks have. Most, 5 most ones that I've seen on the web and in the Key Kiosks themselves is the Slage SC1, a Kwikset KW1, a Master M1, a Weiser WR5. Sometimes it might be WR3, and the National Mailbox Key NA14. You might have, other keys in your area that might be more prevalent. I don't know if they do some kind of statistics and look at the number of keys that people copy, but it might vary in your area. And KeyMe has the biggest selection. If you go to their website, if you go to their website, it has a huge list of keys that they can mail and duplicate, even some higher security keys. And if you need a mustache key or like a New Orleans Saints key, they have those, or a My Little Pony key or whatever. They have those. So, Key Kiosks, how do they work? This is a fast key kiosk. I'm just going to take you through how one works. Has anybody ever used one of these before? Okay, one. Okay. Well, this is lots of pictures. So, you ask you for your language. Basically, they can copy the home type keys or like master keys, just the ones that most people. It will ask you if you want to scan your vehicle key, because this one happened to be in Walmart, and it will give you a printout that you can take to the automotive department. And they have keychains and other little things available. Ask you to remove the protection off your key, any little keychain or the little protectors, covers. And the way this one works is it has a little flatbed scanner. So let's see if I can get. Yeah, if you can see, you put the little key in that little slot, and then the little scanner thing that moves backs away from the key and then comes back to it. So that's just kind of how the mechanism works. So let's ask a question. Will it copy a bump key? If you go to a locksmith, will they copy a bump key? Generally, no. Yes, sir, you have a question? Okay, we have someone who doesn't know what a bump key is. So a bump key is a key that has, and I'll pass these around. It has a key with all the bittings filed down to the lowest setting. And what happens is, and there's lots of YouTube videos about it. You can go upstairs into the lock picking village, and they can show you how to make one and use one. But you put it in the lock, you pull it out one notch, and you bump it with a hammer or a stick or something. And it'll make the pins in the mechanism jump up into place and go across the shear line, so you can turn. It's a way to. It's like billiard balls. It just bumps them up into the. I guess I don't know what the technical term is, but it bumps the key pins across the shear line, and then it allows you to open the lock. Even though the key, if you tried to turn it, it wouldn't work. Any other questions? Real quick? Okay. So, if you go to a locksmith, at least the ones in my area, if you say, I need you to make a copy of this bump key, first of all, they're going to say, why do you have a bump key? They might even call the police and confiscate the bump key from you. So it depends on if they're legal in your area or not. Again, try to obey all laws and things like that. So if you want to make a copy of a bump key, will a Key Kiosk do it? Because it's not going to ask you any questions. So will it make a bump key out of brass, a machine-made brass, like a professionally made bump key, like you can order or you can get from the guys upstairs? Will it copy a handmade brass key like I made, or anybody? Will it copy other types of materials like plastic or paper? And will it read labels like "Do not duplicate"? Can it understand English? So let's put a brass key with a large paper cover and then with a small paper cover. So these are the keys that I use to put in the machine. So the top left is the professionally made bump key. The next one is one that I made a long time ago by hand. This is a paper printout on printer paper that I cut out with an X-Acto knife on of a bump key. This is one I cut out of a paper plate. This is one that I made out of a piece of plastic and a Dremel tool. I'm going to pass these around. And I was like, well, can it read? So I made a huge sign that said "Do not duplicate," and I put "Hugs," because this is DerbyCon. And then put a small paper cover to see if it would, if you could cover up the words "Do not duplicate" or something like that. So I'm going to pass these around real quick. So this is some of the pictures that I took while I was at the Key Kiosk, and you put in there, it asks you to line it up with the green arrow, so it's me actually trying to put it in the machine to copy them. Oh wow, look. So when it successfully copies a key, scans it, says "Great job, your key is being scanned for copying." And if it works, it says "Choose your key." So it's successfully scanned and noticed this one happens to be a Slage SC1 key. So if they have additional SC1 keys, you can get a mustache key or Saints key or some kind of pretty design, whatever. So you pick the one you want to use. And it says, "Does everything look right? You have your order ready," and then you get ready to pay your $2 because you're paying in cash. Okay, and then it'll spit out a key in this little blank thing, and I'll just pass this around too. So it spits out a cassette or a cartridge or something, whatever you call it. And it asks you to insert it in the little slot on the left side of the machine. So it says "Insert to key blank until it clicks." So this is the slot you insert it in. You can't insert it because it has a little door that opens up until you get to that point. So that's something else that they thought about. You can't just insert a key there first. And it says "Here we go." And it's trying to show you how... It actually shows a little animation of the wheel trying to cut the key, but it's not actually what's happening right then. It's just a movie that plays. So if you go to the minute key, you can actually watch it being cut. So that's kind of cool. Your key is ready. So when you remove it out of the machine, looks like that. And so we have a success. So how many of you thought that it would copy a bump key? Well, now we have proof. So we had the machine-made bump key that it copied, and that's the one on the top left, and the copy of that is right here. And the one I made, and then it copied that, and then it copied the one with the cover, the small cover on it, and also the master key that I made with a Dremel tool. So let's look at some of the details. I don't know if you can see this picture very well, but I drew some lines across where it actually lines up the bidding pretty well, and it goes and does the depths pretty good. The only problem that I found on this first key, this is the professionally made one on the left, the machine made, is at the very end it didn't get the end right, and you can see that on the keys I'm passing around. It kind of shaved off the top part of the tooth. So we have an issue with that, but everything else is pretty aligned, and it even shapes the neck of the key here. The second one was the one that I made, and it copied it perfectly. There was no problems at all. Every tooth is the same, and it's pretty good copy. So when I copied the plastic Master 1 M1 key, it got the angles right, but the problem is it really messed up the end. And if you look at the copy, it's like really far out there. So I was like, that's really strange. So how it measures the keys, I don't really know the mechanism. So some of the keys copied perfectly, some of them kind of copied wonky. But that's okay. Let's look at some more detail. So if we turn to Slade SC1 keys, you can see that it cut the end off on the one that I made, and it's on that key ring. I didn't make all the depths uniform. Making a bump key by hand is kind of hard to do if you've never done it before. That was the very first key that I made. Well, when I copied it, it actually fixed all the depths for me. So it might correct all the mistakes that you make and make a better bump key. So failure is always an option. So I was really saying these paper keys, if it would be really interesting if you could just print out a piece of paper and put it in there and it'd copy that key. Well, it won't do the paper key or the paper plate key or the huge do not duplicate hugs. It didn't recognize that, and it shoots up a screen that says, "Oh, that's a special key. You'll need to go to the auto dealership or locksmith for more help. Sorry about that. Thanks for stopping by." So some of the results. I have the list here that the 7 keys, and some of them aren't really keys. So it copied the machine-made brass, the professionally made key, the handmade key that I did, the handmade plastic one I used a Dremel tool. So it didn't even have to be metal. And then the brass key, a real key with a small paper cover. So it'll copy those types of keys, and if it says do not duplicate, it'll copy those too if you hide the letters with a little paper cover. I'm not suggesting you do that. If you own those keys, that's great. But again, I just wanted to see. We ask questions when we experiment, and we prove our hypothesis that the Key Kiosk will copy a bump key. So, Fast Key Kiosk does copy bump keys. The original key doesn't have to be a key. It's cheaper than buying bump keys online because it's like $4 a key, and plus shipping. You can go to the Key Kiosk and make a copy of your bump key for $2. For the Fast Key Kiosk, your alignment might be a factor in how well the key is made. I didn't sit there and want to spend lots of money in trying to figure out the most optical alignment. So I just made them all on line center. But it tries to copy the key as close as possible. So if you have weird things, I almost tried to write letters on my key and make it a weird shape, but I didn't have time to go do that. So it does try to copy the key as close as possible. If you make a mistake and your depths aren't all the same, it still may correct those in your original key. And it has trouble duplicating small teeth at the end of the key. And the crappy bump key may still work. That master key that it's on the keychain, it still actually worked to open the lock. So beware of that. If you don't know about the security of just master padlock keys, and master padlocks, they're not the best security, just the regular everyday ones. Further questions. I didn't have a 3D printer, but do you think somebody, if you printed out a 3D copy of a key, would you think that would work? I think it would work, but I don't have any data to test it. So if you want to go try that, you can go do that. What other materials will the kiosk copy? Will it copy aluminum foil cut out? It may not, because it may not have enough height. Does the Key Kiosk have any vulnerabilities? I know it uses Windows, and I'll show you in the next slide. And I tried doing the little corner touch thing, and I couldn't get it to work to get to Windows. It also has a cell radio when you pay with your credit card. So, is there any vulnerabilities through the cell radio? Is the KeyMe iPhone app secure? I don't have an iPhone or access to that app. They're supposed to be coming out with the Android version of that app. So is the app secure? I know a lot of people do application testing. And whatever you do, if you do any research, if you find any vulnerabilities in the Key Kiosk, I recommend coordinated disclosure. That's just me. Somebody might get your key nudes out of the iCloud. So if somebody breaks into that KeyMe app, got to be that would be pretty interesting if you could break into KeyMe, and if they have poor security, and get access to everybody's keys without having to ask for keys. Another thing is don't let people borrow your keys that you don't know. So, hey Ronnie, I'm going to borrow your keys for a second. Click. Now I've got the keys to your house. And that was another thing in that Wired article. So here's a picture of I found a fast key kiosk that had a blue screen of death. And I'm going to post these slides later so you can go to the web link. So, they're computers like everything else, so they might be vulnerable. That's getting close to the end of my talk. Does anybody have any questions or any ideas to do further research? Yes, sir.
So, paper key, what I'd recommend doing is getting some nice heavy 60 weight or cardstock. Because from what I can see from the way they're working, what they're doing to recognize the key types based on the heads is a really bad idea. The only thing they can do, because they can't look at the profile of the key, is if it's SC1 or KW1. So if that's the case, probably the spot you ran into with paper key was probably more either just the shape not matching perfectly, or the fact that since you're using very bright light, it just passed through the center of the paper and wasn't able to get a visual image of what it is.
Yeah, that's.
That would also explain why the giant sign warped too, because it was like, this doesn't look like the shape of a key head that I recognize.
Right. Well, that's why I did the paper plate. I didn't have any really heavy weight stock. So I'll go back to this. If it'll pull up. I may have to go back in my presentation here.
I think the tricky part is getting it cut close enough in shape that it's going to accept it. I don't know. They could be doing depth check too.
Yeah, I think.
So I'll be trying to see if they're checking for depth, or I guess we need to do it out of a foam board, since they'll actually have to thickness.
Yeah, so that's for this key kiosk. The minute key, actually, you stick the key in the slot. So you might have a whole new other way to try to copy keys in that machine, but in this one, it's a flatbed scanner. You have other questions? I don't think so. I didn't have one that actually said "do not duplicate" or one that was stamped. I don't. My personal beliefs is I don't think it will. Again, somebody needs to have a Slage SC1 or a quick set that has "do not duplicate" stamped on there, just to see if it'll copy it. But it's kind of irrelevant because you can just take a piece of paper and put over it. So. Yeah, my gut feeling is they're not worried about being more like a locksmith. They're worried more about making money and copying as many keys as possible. That's what I think. That's just my opinion. Other questions? Okay.
So, you said for one of the kiosks you had to go and order the key online through your phone, and you go through your thumbprint.
Mm-hmm.
But you could also get it mailed to me.
Mm-hmm.
So you could just take a picture, you can get it mailed to me without ever getting it.
That's correct. According to the website, yes. Yeah, if you go to that Wired article, the guy actually did it in the hallway. He didn't actually, he just turned around and took a picture of it against the wall, and it still worked. Because it'll tell you if it, according to the article, it'll tell you if it accepts the key or not. So, yeah, that's, and they also, I think they review higher security keys. Any more questions? All right, so hope you enjoyed the talk. I mean, it's a pretty interesting subject, so thank you. Oh, one more thing. There's a lot of videos online of people actually going to these kiosks and seeing how they work. So if you go do some research, there's a lot of stuff out there, going back maybe to even 2011. So, yeah.